Alright, welcome back to another JuJutsu Kaisen chapter review, and oh boy, it's crazy how 1 week Miguel's PR agents just worked overtime, because he was like Tom Brady leaving the Patriots to the Bucks, where Miguel came in and nobody was super excited for him, and everyone was like, what? Who the hell is this guy? But by the end of the chapter, we loved this guy, and he shows off just some excellent battle IQ. He reacts, he actually kind of breakdances through Sukuna's dismantle. He punches Sukuna right in his heart space, or where his heart's supposed to be. And at the end of the day, you have to give this man props. Whether it was stepping up against Gojo or Sukuna, this man's got some swag about it. As always, we got a shout out to JJK Maya over on Twitter, or X, the app formerly known as Twitter, for coming in clutch with all the spoilers. At this point in time, Wednesday, it's Friday as I recorded this video, but Wednesday, I was up at like midnight, 1 a.m., just with some popcorn and chopsticks, just eating and refreshing the page, going page by page, trying to figure out what was going on. And this chapter was a banger. Page 1 starts out with Miguel joining the fight. And if you guys remember, at the end of the last chapter, in chapter 254, Wee was about to teleport and grab Kusakabe off the battlefield, and Sukuna stands behind Wee like, what's up, little boy, what you doing over there? And we were like, oh snap, Wee is about to die. And then that's when Miguel comes in and is like, yo, you gotta fight me next. And not only do you have to fight me, you have to fight Larue, which is somebody who we haven't seen since pretty much the beginning of the Shibuya incident. He was recently just animated, and you would recognize him by the heart-shaped nipples that he has. And I don't know if these are pasties or if this is just a birth defect, but we see him later on in the chapter with a shirt. Actually, page 2, we get to see Larue with a shirt, excuse me. Because it starts out with a flashback. And if we don't remember, Miguel is originally from Africa, and that's where Yuta was sent to go train, and that's why we didn't see Yuta for like the first 100 or so chapters in this story, is because he's training with Miguel, who is kind of sassy at first. And I like getting to see Miguel's character, it makes me upset that we're only getting him now. I genuinely love this character and how sassy and how personable he is. But Yuta is basically coming up during some time of the 1 month break where the good guys are making plans to fight Sukuna. He goes back to Miguel and is like, hey Miguel, we need your help to fight Sukuna. And at first he says no. He says, why would I help you guys if this guy Sukuna can supposedly kill Gojo? I get that the merger may happen and a Godzilla-esque creature will come up and fight. I'd rather fight that than Sukuna. And if you really want me to come help and be a part of you, Gojo should have came here and requested formally that I help, because that man is disrespectful. And we're going to talk about this Gojo controversy a little bit later in the chapter, because if you heard online, there's a little bit of quote-unquote racism by Gojo. I didn't see it as that, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Ultimately, they agreed Miguel is going to fight Sukuna. Spoiler alert, right? He does show up and fight. But the rules and the condition were, 1, he has to fight Gojo, and Gojo has to lose. Then Yuta has to fight Sukuna by himself, and then Yuta has to lose. And then under those 2 conditions, then he would come in and fight. And oh boy, do they, because he and Larue come in and they just start going ham, because instantly you can see over here Sukuna gets hit with a giant fist, which actually tends to be Larue's curse technique, which is like heart hands or something like that, which he basically creates an imaginary hand. And to me, if you guys have ever seen God of High School, this reminds me of the devil's ability of the hand, which creates a single hand, like an attack that can basically like the hand from Super Mario or Super Smash Bros. And it can be, if it gets destroyed, it can come back. But if it comes back, it deals 1/10 of the damage to the user. But it's kind of a cool little move. However, we find out that kind of does bore Sukuna. I mean, it's a nasty move, but it bores Sukuna because his curse technique isn't that interesting. But Miguel over here has an interesting technique, and we get to see it here in just a second, because Sukuna sends a whole bunch of slashes over at Miguel, and you could see, as I said at the beginning of the video, he's dip, dive, duck, and dodge in all these slashes, and he's doing so pretty effortlessly. It's almost as if he's like grooving out or vibing out. And in fact, we see that after this, he's able to, boom, land a punch on Sukuna, and the hand is throwing away Larue. And this is, I can't read the kanji here, but this is where it's breaking down his curse technique of the heart hand, which, once more, if it's destroyed, it can come back, but once it's destroyed, it does 1/10 of the damage to the user of its technique. However, when fighting with Miguel, we find out Miguel's technique called Hakuna Matata. I'm just kidding. It's like Hakuna Rara or something like that, but basically it's a buff that allows him to boost his physical abilities and debuff his opponent. Now, online, people are saying that what I've seen is this is like if you go into like World of Warcraft, this is going to be like your party member who just buffs buffs everybody. I don't see it as that. I see this as more of Deku's Gear 5 with his ability to hit gear shift, and if depending on what level of vibe that he's in, could theoretically catch a beat, and the beat switches or transitions, he's punching faster. That's kind of where my mind goes when I instantly read this, but I have yet to see one YouTuber who's created a video where it's like the two people have the same idea of exactly what it is. And Gojo responds to it saying that it is called highlight, and it is not the scariest move, but it is super versatile. And this is where we're going to see the flashback with Gojo and Miguel out in Africa having a conversation. And you can see right here, I know this one is saying Komindasai, and basically Gojo is saying, hey, 99% of sorcerers are born out of Japan and 1% are outside of Japan. Miguel happens to be that 1% outside of Japan, but what makes Miguel the 1% of the 1% is most sorcerers, just like in a video game, tend to be non-athletic individuals, right? They don't train themselves physically. However, Miguel has been watching Mashle or One Punch Man. Maybe he's grown up watching Dragon Ball like the rest of us, and he said, yo, I want to look like Goku, and he comes out here and trains super physical. And and Gojo says because of his race and where he's from, he has like a rare skeletal frame, muscle frame for a sorcerer. And this is where Miguel is hitting him with the coldest line, saying, I'm not the strongest I'm not black because I'm the strongest. I'm the strong. Hold on, I don't want to finish that. But you guys get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, he's not saying, no, I'm not strong because I'm black. I'm strong because I'm me, because I'm Miguel and who I am, which is kind of a difference in mindset. You can already see that these two are like super strong beings who are being humans who respect each other as sorcerers. But one has the dilemma of, am I the strongest because I'm Gojo, or am I Gojo because I am the strongest? Miguel understands that he is strong because that's who he is. And he says that there's other black people who aren't very athletic. And then that's when Gojo's like, come and decide. He's saying, I'm sorry. And Miguel's like, don't worry, it's fine. Twitter has taken that and gone out to out the wazoo with it. I don't think it was that funny. And once more, it's a Japanese author speaking to the Japanese culture. And just if you go to Japan, you're gonna see that there are not a lot of African Americans or just dark colored people in there, whether it be Hispanics or Colombians, or you know what I mean. Like, so whenever they see them, they tend to like freak out and they're like, oh my gosh. So I think that's more speaking towards those people saying, hey, they're people just like you and I. And I don't know. I want to move off of this because I don't want to get canceled from it. But I would love to know your thoughts, what you got from this. I don't think Gojo was actually trying to be racist. I think he was trying to be funny, and Miguel was like, come on, man, that's a little racist. And he's like, shit, you're right. But it ends the flashback to come back in here, and this is where Sukuna, you can see he's shocked. He goes, Nani? And Miguel hits him right where his heart should be. He actually like catches his hand, throws it up, and hits him with a solid uppercut in here. And I think this is fantastic. I think it's fantastically drawn. And like I said, it's crazy how Miguel can go from a character where no one was super excited about to everyone's super hyped about. And what we also notice now is that JuJutsu Jump Kaisen is back in full glory, because as soon as Miguel hits him with that uppercut, Choso hits him with the supernova. And if Choso's there, Choso was hanging out with somebody right before this. Oh yes, Yuji comes in with the double axe hand, double fist up, just crushing Sukuna into the ground with everything he's got. And Sukuna's probably right here just disrespecting Yuji again, like, oh look, this brat, this boar is over here yet again. Everyone else seems interesting, but Yuji is just a boar. He's here. But if you just thought it was going to be Miguel, Choso, and Yuji fighting Sukuna, I mean, that's a nasty trio. But I would say, hey, we need to add one more person in here, because as soon as Sukuna starts to make some hand signs to hit a world slash, which we'll figure out here in a little bit, he needs those hand signs. It is confirmed in this chapter that boom, Maki comes up and slashes off those arms. And this, Yuji sees this opening because he realizes, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the opening that we need. Sukuna is manually pumping his heart. He has no reverse curse technique. He can't use his domain. He's super weak. He's super vulnerable. This is it. This is where we have to finish. He hits Larue with the black flash, and this is where the narrator says when Gojo hit his second flash, or black flash for the second time, he restored his curse technique, or the reverse curse technique. What's going to happen with the King of Curses? And somewhere in this chapter, because this is the leaks, the full chapter will come out over the weekend. If you guys want, let me know down below. Like, subscribe if you like my kind of my anime reviews, these spoiler reviews. If you like them, we can do full chapter reviews as well. Back to the story. Sometime during the middle end of this chapter, the narrator is going to confirm that the active world slasher, to activate the world slash, Sukuna has to use a hand side called Initmin, which also is used for the malevolent shrine. But since Sukuna was with one left arm, when Gojo's final hollow purple, he used a binding vow and sent a slash of Gojo without a hand sign. So basically, if you guys don't know, in Jujutsu Kaisen, if you could say, hey, I'm going to send this slash one time without any direction, without any hand sign, but for as long as I use this attack again, I'm not only going to have to use a hand sign, but I will also have to say, you know, like the enchantments in a certain order, and then with my extra arms, give a signal, you know, an indication of what direction the slash is going to go with. I like this. I think this could be used more in the story of like binding vows, explaining binding vows and how they're used, because they're seemingly used sparingly throughout the story, but it at least gives us confirmation that Sukuna did not use hand signs, did not have to enchant anything to kill Gojo. We're on no break next week. Jujutsu K chapter 256 will happen next Wednesday. I'll try to do a chapter review just like this next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometime throughout the week, just because I like having, I like sitting back and hearing what other people have to say about the chapter, and I also want to be able to find translations, even though this week I wasn't able to find, if we go back and look, I wasn't able to really find any translations. You just looking at kanji. But at the end of the day, Miguel was an absolute GOAT this chapter. He ran through Sukuna's 1v1, at least, well, I shouldn't say 1v1, but 2v1. I mean, he just ran through Sukuna. He wasn't scared. Gotta respect him for that. He reacts and weaves through Sukuna's dismantles, and his battle IQ so far has been excellent, and his charisma has been even more so. I love this guy, and I like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm a little upset that we're getting Miguel now instead of earlier in the series. But with that said, that's going to end up today's video. Please, if you would, like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends to keep them in the loop with everything going on in the anime scene, especially if they like Jujutsu Kaisen. And with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.